Hi, I am Michael Allison, the developer of the Play Zone, which is a unique application of polyvagal theory to optimize our resilience and performance. And today I had an opportunity to have a dialogue with someone I really, really like and admire, and her name is Ximena. And she is in Colombia and is a mental performance coach and really specializes in working with kids. And particularly right now, we have a discussion about kids in tennis, which we often think of as an individual sport. But what you will quickly learn in our discussion is that if you feel alone out there on the court, you're actually compromised. And the team around you, whether it's your parents, your friends, your family, your coach, is vital. It's vital for how safe you feel on the court, which would allow you to free up and play at your best. Or it's also the evaluation coming at you from those who don't understand what's really beneath behavior, and maybe your eruptions, or maybe you're even quitting and shutting down, how impactful that can be in a not such a helpful way. So we have a wonderful little discussion about what Ximena does specifically to help kids actually come in contact with their bodily feelings, those reflexive reactions, and then helps parents and coaches really understand what's going on and how that ripples through, not only in performance, but in their relationships and quality of life. So I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. And it's really, there's a lot in here. So take a listen. Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to talk about parents, for example, which was one of
Right.
the things someone mentioned at the end of your keynote, your conference, in which
Yeah.
yeah, that's some of the. I think it all depends on ages, but anyway, until they're grown ups, or at least they're 18 here, you have to
Yeah.
deal a lot with parents, and
With
they have
parents.
become a big issue. I don't know if in the States it's like that, but here is
Yeah.
huge.
It's
And
like
before we
that
start,
here. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw there was this post on Facebook from ESPN. I think it
Mhm.
was ESPN tennis. They quoted Djokovic regarding something that it seems that journalists have been trying to reach his son and asking about his tennis career. And
Mm.
they quoted a phrase Djokovic said, just leave him alone for him. And tennis is just a game that will help him develop
Mhm.
mental, physically, and it's nothing to do with his future.
Mhm.
And
Love it.
I think that was big because and
Yeah.
I've been sharing it because I have parents with 7 year olds, 8 year olds that are talking about
Yeah.
their kids being a professional tennis player, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah. Coming from the greatest, maybe one of the greatest players of all time, who is saying as a parent, he's letting his kid have fun. He's not putting his unwritten story on his kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So let's
it's
talk
just
more
a
about
game.
that. Yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
more about that because that's really, really good. Like, what are you seeing in the world of tennis with the parents and the kids and how that's impacting?
Yeah, yeah, because there's a whole lot of pressure
Mm-hmm.
and parents expecting kids to do things their brain is not even ready for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how are the
Yeah.
kids responding? How are the kids responding to that?
Yeah, it all depends. Sometimes when I speak with parents, I said it all depends where they're coming from because they can be afraid, for example, of their parents.
Mm-hmm.
They can be willing or trying hard to make their parents happy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they can maybe somehow sometimes connect with that dream, I mean, at that age, they don't speak that easily about what they're feeling. So unless they're kind of used to it, and that's like the dynamic in the family. So it's something I have to start talking about with these kids when I'm working them with
Mm-hmm.
where how do they feel with about their dream or whatever they're expecting about why they play tennis. Because sometimes they play tennis just because they like it, but their parents are in the whole pro dream they're not even aware of. But sometimes it's, are they afraid of their parents? Are they just not trying to make them happy? And it doesn't matter if it's one or the other. It's a huge load for a kid.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Parents are a huge issue.
Yeah, for better or for worse, right? Like what Djokovic is saying, he can be an ally and he can be on the same side as his child. Whereas what you're saying is the child isn't necessarily the support system the parent isn't necessarily the support system that the child would really benefit from. And if they're playing out of being afraid, or playing to please, or playing so that they feel good enough to be accepted and ultimately cared for and loved by their parents, that's a lot to be carrying.
That's a lot. It's a huge load to be carrying when you're 10, 8, 7.
Yeah. Anytime.
At any time.
But especially then when at that age you're looking at them to carry you. When you're 7, the parent is to carry you.
Yeah.
Right? Not for you to carry the parent. Yeah. So when you're talking to these kids, how are you helping them kind of get in touch with those bodily feelings, with that extra pressure? How are you kind of navigating that with the kids?
That's a whole huge issue for me, because at that age they're not that connected about emotions, because people are not connected with what's going on in their body and their emotions. So they're just kind of, I feel nervous, that's it. And it's a whole, I mean, where do you feel nervous? How does your body feel? It's a whole thing of, do you feel it in your arms? Sometimes I help them. For example, I try just speaking with them and see if they can kind of go there. Yeah. But many times they can't. So I just kind of have them lay down. Okay. Have them lay down, head side up, and just kind of let them breathe for a while and take them, like, for example, you're in a match and this is what's going on, and kind of make them go there through their visualizing and feeling. And then sometimes they get to, okay, now I feel the tension. My arms tense. And how do you feel your face? And then but I go, how do you feel your jaw? How do you feel your eyes? How do you feel your cheeks? And then they kind of, okay, this is how it feels. Oh, my legs are tense. Also, after I watch them play, I kind of help them remind if they were aware of how they were rushing, for example. Sometimes they're going so fast, like, and then sometimes they, yes, I noticed it. Sometimes they don't. But usually I have to come to take them there again, because kids, adults either are not that connected either. But kids their attention is a lot more dispersed, and they go here and there everywhere. So it's just like 5 minutes stops and just take them back to that moment and see how it felt.
Yeah. That's great.
If they feel in their stomach, or if they feel in their heart region. And that's how it's been, like, easier, taking them, like having them lay down and taking them, just, let's see how it feels. We're going to try to go there and see if you can connect to what the body feels.
Yeah. And do you name any of those different feelings? Do you have names for them that are different than saying, like, you're mobilized in your fight, or you're mobilized in flight? Or do you have different names or different colors or different things that they do?
Yeah, I ended up having, like, a list of emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and sensation, because they had a very hard time when they're, I mean, the smallest ones, had a very hard time naming an emotion. They're pretty basic.
Mm-hmm.
So then how does it feel to be in calm and control? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're at least that you're in control and that you're kind of aware of your body. That's and then when they're so small, I don't talk about not that you're in fight or I mean, that you're in aggressive mode, that you're ready
Yeah.
to compete, that you're like kind of, oh yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And how does that feel? But I have kind of a list of emotions they can choose from and
Got it.
see like if there are some yeah, that's for example they can choose because most of the times like I'm happy or I'm anxious and
I'm
and that's
fine.
it.
I'm
It doesn't matter
fine.
how many one
Yeah.
question, yeah, how many questions,
Yeah.
okay. But then when they kind of see all this, I mean, the kind of see it, some they don't know, others they, oh yeah, this is also, yeah, this also I feel. Yes.
Mm.
And sometimes I use like if they like to draw, I always ask them if they like to write, if they like to draw. So whatever they connect with most, that's
Yeah.
how we do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would like to draw and see, just draw your own picture and see where are you feeling, where do you
Mm-hmm.
feel it, so they can connect with their body.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up having like a list of emotions because
Right.
if I try to tell me more and tell me more, they kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think it's because they've been sort of taught not to pay attention? Do you think it's not just because they're young? Is your sense that it's because it's not how it's been kind of conditioned for them? That's not what they've
Exactly.
been
Yes.
taught. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, because one of
Exactly.
the things parents learn in this process is that it is okay to be afraid. It is okay to even, I mean, it's okay because it's a normal reaction to shut down.
Yeah. That's
And for
right.
example, throwing the racket, and just even the tantrum, I
Yeah.
teach them a whole different view of what a tantrum is in the court.
Excellent.
And
Can you
yeah,
share, can
so
you share a little bit? Can you share a little bit of that? Just a little bit of how you're helping them understand the difference, right? Seeing the behavior not as a character flaw or even intentional necessarily, but what's beneath the behavior.
yeah, I I share them. I can find it. I think I have it here. I when I start working with a kid, I mean 12 under 13, they're kind of different. They're the 12 and under. I give
Mm-hmm.
the parents the zone pyramid, the zone
Yeah.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the first things I teach. This is how your kids and every human being moves
Mm-hmm.
when we're
Mm-hmm.
in this play zone and when you're in a competition.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell them that this is absolutely normal and what can happen on the base. I mean, which the thing parents like least,
Mm-hmm.
which is a tantrum, throwing the racket,
Yeah.
crying, all the things we can see.
Yeah.
And that's like the first thing they were, whoa.
Yeah.
And I tell them, this is not about you. And this is not about how people see your parenting.
Mm-hmm.
This is about what's going on in the court with your son or
Mm-hmm.
your daughter, with your
Mm-hmm.
kid. And this is simple how their autonomic nervous system works.
Love it.
I mean,
So powerful.
and some because of how they've been raised, what they've learned, and their DNA, and what's happened in their life. Some are calm, some are not.
Mm-hmm.
Some get pissed off very easily. Some are very have a low frustration, and they're all different. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is each one of the kids is different. So what you see in your son is just not the result of you being a bad parent, but
Mm-hmm.
how their nervous system is reacting to the pressure, to tension, to
Love it.
so that's one of the things like they go, wow, so this is nothing to do with my parenting. Not really. I
No.
mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just how
Yeah.
they're dealing with emotions they don't want to deal with at the end.
Yeah. Oh, you just brought up so many good things in there, right? As a parent, when we see our little one throwing a temper tantrum, not only do we feel really uncomfortable because we're seeing our child struggle, right? We see that's they're struggling. Things aren't going their way and they're struggling. So that in and of itself as a parent is uncomfortable. And we don't want to see that. Of course we don't want to see that. It's uncomfortable. And then at the same time, there are other people watching, and what you just touched on was really important for the parent to hear, is it's not a reflection of your parenting either.
That's
Right?
it.
Because
Yeah,
now
it's
not
not a
only
reflection.
are we right, we're uncomfortable seeing our child suffer and struggle, and then we're uncomfortable at feeling evaluated by all the other parents and all the other people watching and thinking, wow, what kind of parent am I? So from the body, from the nervous system standpoint, it makes sense why, right, as a parent, makes sense why I don't want that to happen. Because I'm feeling evaluated, and I'm also watching my child who I love struggle. And so you can see why parents don't want that to happen. And you can also see why parents are driving their kids, and they think it's for the kids' best interest, but they want them to reach another level because they don't want to see their kids struggle. They don't want to see their kids suffer, and they don't want to feel evaluated. So again, all of those things from the parent's perspective are cues of risk, evaluation. And so we're trying to do it for ourselves as much as we want our child to feel safe and to thrive. It's a very interesting dynamic.
That's it.
Yeah. It's really, really, so what
Yeah,
you're
and
pointing
I mean,
out
it's
is so helpful.
the same thing happens for even when they're older. I mean, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. It's a parent saying, "Oh, he can't. I mean, he can't behave like this in a court." And yes, he can. I mean, it's happening. Not a matter of if they can or not. It's happening. They just have to
Yes.
know and recognize and see how can they.
Yeah.
The sooner or the sooner they can get in touch with what's going on, the higher the probability they're not going to get there.
That's right. You got it. That's right. Yeah. Right. The more that we can build that awareness of where we are in the performance hierarchy, what zone we're in, then the more we can get ahead of what we know is coming next if we don't overcome the challenge. If we don't find enough safety, right? Then we know what's coming next, so we can get ahead of it. And so maybe we won't be smashing our rackets. Maybe we won't be giving up and quitting and walking off the court saying we're never playing the game again. So, but we are still human. So sometimes we will. But how we relate to that as the player, but also how we relate to that as the parent can be completely different, which can allow both the player and the parent to come back to safety, to come back into their own play zone much more quickly.
Yeah.
Much more quickly.
That's it.
Yeah.
And also, and the same thing is for the Ph.D. I mean, for the whole team, because the coach has some expectations too. The coach, I mean, some may not understand that their coachee is just, I mean, it's just freaked out, and something may happen. And this morning I was having and yeah, he's 18. He's playing an ATS tournament in Peru, and his coach called me. He says he had a little tension over his shoulder, right shoulder, this morning while he was warming up, and I told him to take his attention out of the shoulder. Okay, but he may take the attention out of his shoulder, but that doesn't mean that the tension is going to go away. There's a reason for that tension to be there. So did you tell him why is I mean, what are you feeling? Or just be aware of it and make some breathing, for example, try to relax the zone, try to let it go. No, he just told them, take your attention out of there.
Just put your attention elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, put your attention elsewhere. Well, if that powerful enough, maybe he can make it, but just not because his attention is somewhere else. What he's feeling, the sensation is going to go away. You have to work on the sensation and do something about it. So just recognize and see. Yeah. So the Ph.D. is also
Absolutely. Yeah, no, but so you went back, you just brought up the old myth. It's like, well, just don't pay attention to that. Just repress that, pretend it's not there, and you'll be okay. You got to just tell your body how to perform, and then it'll perform, right? So you just brought up like, yes, you need to meet that and go, well, what might really be behind that tension? Is that tension really a reflection that I'm feeling really, really highly mobilized and anxious right now? Chances are it probably was. It's probably related to that. So what can I do to help my body feel safer, to feel more calm and in control and relaxed? Or maybe I can't. So at least now I'm aware of it. So what do I do about it now? And how do I regulate myself in between points? How do I find some ability to come back to calm even when I'm struggling, right? So but you brought up a really key point. And so the coaches have, ultimately what you're doing is you're helping parents, you're helping kids, and you're helping the whole team, the whole coaches, all of the coaches, to understand what's really behind whether or not a child's erupting and having an implosion or quitting or performing and having fun.
Yeah. And I like to share, Michael, that the more I study and the more I learn, and throughout the whole process of getting certified as a performance and wellness coach, it's just a whole different view of how you can deal with things, and not only in your day-to-day life, but in a competition. It's just it's not anymore about like the mind, not about anymore like what's going on in the mind, which is it's very tough to do. I mean, or something like that. It's a whole, I mean, it's just like, it's me, it's my nervous system, it's my survival mode, and just getting to know it, and just make it like something familiar for you, and have cues. And
not amazing.
It's like, it's a whole different story.
No, it's a whole different thing. Like, and what you were saying too, it doesn't stop like the younger kids and then the older kids. If there isn't a change when they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, they're still doing the same things. They're still repressing and masking. They're still pretending it's not there. They're still rushing. You use that word, rushing through. And they're still having parent issues, which I was telling you about that one player a little bit. I mentioned that I wanted to share that with you. So she's 23. She's now in the top one. She's going to crack into the 160s. Started the year outside top 500, right? So was the number one U.S. player from the time she was 12 till 17. Won the U.S. Open Juniors at 17, right? And to this day, her relationship with her mother is what, from my perspective, is what's holding her back from freeing up and really being in her play zone. And it goes all the way back to feeling so criticized and not being good enough, no matter what, that it's still, she doesn't free up, right? So it's changed into everybody's. So it's not just the mother's evaluation, but it's everyone else watching must feel that same way that my mother felt, right? So, at age 23, until we get to that place with her where she can actually have her mother and have a relationship where she feels good enough with her mother, our short-term solution was no mother. Mother can't come to the match. But I love my mother. Well, of course you love your
Mm-hmm.
mother, but you want to be a professional player right now. So this is just a temporary step, because ultimately, to get to your highest level of performance, yes, I believe you have to heal that relationship, and you have to feel good enough. And your mother has to acknowledge that as well, right? But that we're not there yet. And so when her mother is watching, complete threat, right? The mother's visuals, the mother's body language, all of that, the postural cues, this player can't even look at the mother, can't even direct her attention over at her mother during a match. Immediate threat. So then what she does is then she can't look up. she can't even look up and around because she doesn't even want to catch any glance, right? So she just keeps getting more and more bodily this way, which again is now a cue back. Danger, threat, danger. You must really be in danger because you're standing like this and you're looking down. So you just get into this vicious cycle. So it keeps going.
Something you mentioned right before I was mentioning, like, this is a whole different view, whole different, I mean, it's just amazing, is about when we work with either it can be smaller kids or 20-something, whoever we're working with, at the end, since their support system is so important. It comes like, I have a parent that says, if I knew this was going to be like a whole package thing, each time I have to sit down with him and talk about what's going on and how we can help. And I mean, all parents want their best for the kids. So each time I know, since I know you want your best for your kids, we're going to try this and let's see if this works, because we need to be a great support system. So, and that's if I knew this was going to be a whole package.
Totally.
So it's a whole, it's an experience of learning, connecting, awareness from the parent, awareness from the coach if he wants to. It's a whole, I mean, it's like a whole awareness program for everyone around the player.
It is. Yeah, like you're bringing up a good point. Like even Roger Federer went in his retirement, right? He said, this is an individual sport, but I've always considered myself a team player. And I built a team around me to give me that, basically. That was his team. And so you're saying exactly, even though we quote call tennis an individual sport, if you feel alone out there, you're done. If you feel alone, truly alone, and not supported by your team, not supported if you're playing college by your teammates, by your coach, by your friends and family, if you feel alone, good luck. You cannot tap into your highest performance, and you certainly can't sustain it. Yeah, really good point. Even though it's an individual sport, you can't feel alone. And that's what you're teaching these parents and these coaches, is that actually it is the whole team, and the player needs to feel as an integrative, important, I'm good enough to be on this team.
Yes, that's another kind of message I kind of throw in there, that we have to build ourselves up to be that support team. So where are you when you're sitting down in that court, are you really connected with what's going on with the player in the court, or are you filled up with expectations and the whole ego thing? And I mean, just ask that question. Where are you from? Where are you from? So each time you connect with your son, your player, you kind of, it's easier to be aware that you're from an ego, and then it's easier to connect with your facial expressions and everything, what's going on with yourself while you're sitting there in the court. Yeah.
Totally. I like to say that whenever we notice the ego coming in, that means we're feeling under threat. right? Like when the ego arises, to me, it means, oh, there's something that's triggering some threat response here. I'm feeling a little less safe, because when we feel truly, truly safe and connected, we are all one, right? We're in it together. We're connected. There's no need for, well, what about me? There's no need.
Yeah.
Right.
No
So
need.
to me, it's just a sign of, oh, I'm feeling a little under threat again, which is just information. It's not evaluation. It's not that I shouldn't be feeling this way. It's like, okay, well, what can I do to find some more safety and connection in this moment so I can be with my son or my daughter or my student, right? My athlete. So I can be with them versus evaluating them or criticizing them or throwing my stuff on them. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and also just be aware, since I told you that I give them the card, I teach them, just be aware where you are.
Where are you?
Be aware.
Where are you? Yeah. I love it.
If you're, for example, you may go to shutdown. You see something you don't like in the court from your son, and you may go to shutdown. So
you might.
What are you going to do?
Yes.
What are you going to do about how to, being aware and having your own cues to get out of there?
Yeah. So it sounds like you're teaching the parents as much as you're teaching the kids.
Yeah, when I have the smaller ones, when I have the smaller ones, it's like, I try to really make a connection with the parents so we can work, because, they depend on them. They are looking forward to please them sometimes, or they may be afraid. And if in order to help the kid, I need kind of go into that part and and get in touch with the parents and help the parents along. Because I don't know how it's in the States, but here is mostly the parents that are going to the kids to the matches.
That's right.
And many times you don't see a coach, you see parents.
It's the parents. That's right. And that's how it is here too. That's how it is in almost all sports here too, up to a certain age. And the parent feels as though they're giving so much. I'm driving my kid everywhere. I'm doing all this stuff. But who are you doing it for? Who are we really doing it for? Right? Yeah.